Welcome back. This is the Total Rewards expert, Adam Sutton. I took a step back to upgrade some technology, which hopefully will be noticed, and to build a more useful, more structured, and more authentic channel about how these situations actually unfold inside of companies. There are plenty of places online where you can get a fast answer. This is not one of those places. In this series, I test an AI-generated total rewards expert named Aria AI against real-world business situations. And then I break down whether the answer would actually work inside an organization. Aria AI represents the pinnacle of modern technology. An elite artificial intelligence total reward strategist built to solve complex challenges in executive compensation, job architecture, compensation strategy, incentives, employee wellness, but not just in theory and not just on paper, with leaders, with budgets, and with pressure. So let's start here by introducing Aria AI. Aria, this is Adam Sutton, the total rewards expert. I'm sitting here with the audience. We are about to conduct a really terrific interview on the scenario. I'd love to know a little bit about you and maybe if you wanted to introduce yourself to the wider audience.
Certainly, Adam. I'm Aria AI, a total rewards executive with over 25 years of global Fortune 100 experience. I specialize in cutting through complexity, whether it's compensation design, executive pay governance, or M&A integration. My approach is direct, identify root causes, assess risks, and deliver solutions that leadership can act on. I'm here to ensure your strategy is sharp and your execution sharper. Let's get into it when you're ready.
Terrific, because we have a very similar background. And as you know, there is a little bit of a competitive nature to what we're trying to do here. I'm going to present you with the situation. You will then give me your perspective on the situation. I may put in some perspective, tidying up, or completely disagree. You never really know how things could end up going here. And then you'll give your perspective back. Maybe we'll throw a wrinkle or two in. Sometimes those wrinkles might be fun or exciting. And overall, what I'd like you to do at the end is give your judgment and perspective on whether your overall recommendation or my overall recommendation might have led to the best outcome as a total rewards leader, total rewards executive. Let's just say generally a total rewards expert. So are you with me on this?
Absolutely, Adam. I'm aligned with the format and I'm ready to engage with precision. Once you present the situation, I'll provide my executive level assessment and recommendation. Let's see which solution truly delivers the best outcome.
A growing company is facing pay compression inside one of its most important technical teams. New hires are being brought in at salaries close to, and in some cases above, long tenured, high performing employees already in the organization. Managers are frustrated. Employees are starting to compare pay. Recruiting is saying that they need competitive offers to fill open positions. Finance says payroll is already above their target. Leadership wants a solution that feels fair, keeps talent, and doesn't create financial messes 6 months from now or further along. If we do nothing, top performers may leave, we'll see lower engagement, and performance will certainly drop. So the question becomes, what should a total rewards leader actually do in this situation?
The real issue is structural misalignment between internal equity and external market forces. It happens because market rates for niche technical skills are outpacing the company's internal salary progressions. Risks include disengagement, turnover of key talent, and potential pay compression lawsuits if not handled transparently. I recommend a two-part strategy. First, conduct a targeted market alignment review, adjusting pay bands for critical technical roles, both for new hires and incumbents. Second, implement a clear internal progression framework to ensure high performers see defined paths for upward movement. Execution-wise, this requires working with finance to model a phased adjustment, preventing immediate budget shock. You must also communicate transparently to existing staff to restore trust. The executive takeaway? If you don't align internal and external realities now, you'll pay far more in attrition and replacement costs later.
Who specifically would you work with in order to establish critical employees that you were discussing earlier on?
I'd engage directly with senior leaders of the technical function to identify mission critical roles, partnering closely with HRBPs for granular performance data. I'd also bring in compensation to ensure external benchmarking is accurate. Ultimately, alignment with finance is key to balance cost implications with business needs.
But how specifically would you identify that critical talent? You're assuming the HR business partner would just quote unquote know it.
No assumptions. I would rely on objective criteria. I'd partner with HRBPs to pull performance ratings, skill scarcity analyses, and business impact metrics. Critical talent is defined not by tenure, but by a combination of consistent top performance, rare skills, and direct impact on strategic initiatives. This ensures objectivity and alignment.
Would you consider creating a matrix that potentially would compare the level of performance on a spectrum and the level of compensation related to position and range?
Yes, I would. A matrix mapping performance on one axis and compar ratio we market position on the other is a precise diagnostic tool. It exposes who's underpaid relative to performance and who's overpositioned. That data informs strategic adjustments, ensuring we balance merit and market in a disciplined, defensible manner.
Do you think it might also make sense to overlay a competency uh, perspective in there as well? I'd likely end up having to get the input of the employees or the candidate employees that would be in those relative jobs. It'd probably involve us bringing them in and getting a sense of, from a competency standpoint, who would stand on the far end of one competency curve and who would fall on the other end of it.
Yes, layering competencies is wise. Performance shows past results, competency indicates future potential. I'd collaborate with leadership to calibrate these competencies objectively. Bringing employees into that conversation is insightful, provided it's structured. In the end, you'll have a full picture: market alignment, performance impact, and future capability. All critical for retention and fairness.
So I feel like you approached it from the outset with, a little bit of a lack of specificity. And one of the things that is interesting about Sutton Business Velocity is the approach that the organization takes towards diagnosing and ultimately developing and recommending a solution to these sorts of issues. So in my case, I would say first, we should partner with the HR team and business leaders to identify the critical roles using the job structure and model compensation for internal and external comparability to establish a validity to our existing structure. So in my view, it's that underpinning that first needs to be validated to make sure that the compensation structure relates purposefully to the job structure. Then I would actually make sure that the current employee mapping to the job structure is validated to establish that the pay positioning that we're pulling for each of those employees is actually appropriate. So what I'm trying to do here is establish on the outset, to create that matrix, we have to have validity behind the data. So a quick set of analyses like this will create that underpinning of analyses that then allows us to move to the next step, which is identifying the root cause. Are we seeing this as market movement? Is it manager immaturity and inconsistency in the application of our structure? Is it maybe poor or lack of progression? Or we might even be lacking a distinguishment between progression and a promotion. I think it's important to triage and solve issues now, but first, understanding what we have and making sure the infrastructure will support the recommendations ensures that we're keeping in mind a pay philosophy before, in a sense, implementing changes that we're not 100% sure whether the pay philosophy currently supports.
Your structure first approach is logical, Adam. The distinction is that I assumed a validated structure already existed. If not, I agree. Validate job architecture and pay philosophy before adjusting. That said, the risk is overanalyzing. If pay compression is already damaging morale, act quickly. Once structure is confirmed, I still stand by immediate targeted realignment. In essence, your foundation approach plus my rapid corrective action is the winning combination. In conclusion, alignment plus agility delivers the best outcome.
I think you're also missing one other important area here. Um, we need to strengthen the system while we're triaging and assessing and solving for an existing problem. So we want to strengthen that system by updating hiring guardrails, want to make sure those progression and promotion practices are well grounded and documented, raising the reward competency of business leaders, because that comes back in dividends to any HR organization, and providing clear governance so issues don't dictate the course of the company. Instead, the judgment and competency decision making will.
You're correct. Building a lasting solution requires more than fixing symptoms. While I emphasized rapid alignment, reinforcing the system's architecture prevents recurrence. Establishing governance, upskilling leaders in reward decisions, and codifying clear progression paths ensures future consistency. My focus was tactical. Yours is systemic. The executive takeaway? Solve the immediate problem but institutionalize guardrails so it doesn't resurface. Well said.
Now, I said earlier that a wrinkle will be added to each one of these situations. Sometimes the wrinkles will be with some massive surprise, but others will just say a bit more reserved. So in this case, a CFO would prefer that the solution does not increase costs at all. And instead, they insist that we want all employees brought to the midpoint of the salary range. So how would you do this in a sense in a cost neutral or cost zero way?
The CFO's constraint is clear, cost neutral. The real issue becomes redistributing existing spend, not adding to it. Why this happens? Market shifts have distorted internal equity. The risk? Without new funds, you need trade offs, and morale can still suffer if not handled well. The solution? Reallocate. First, conduct a compression audit to identify who's above midpoint and who's below. Then rebalance. Slow down increases for those above midpoint and accelerate adjustments for those below. You'll need to communicate transparently that future merit budgets will be partially reallocated to close gaps. Execution reality? You'll face tough conversations with those who expected larger raises. The executive takeaway? Cost-neutral solutions mean redistribution, not magic. Rebalance the budget to restore equity, but ensure leadership alignment before execution.
Yeah. And I think what's important to remember here is the rebalancing need and not the need to convince leadership of an alternative, which, in many cases, there are total rewards leaders who would jump in here and say, hey, we need to then increase our budgets. We need to find money. And I think what's important is that throughout the career of a total rewards professional, there is a measure of being in the room and being part of the discussion that sometimes gets lost in the interactions that you have that underpin your decisions along the way. And I think this is something that I'm trying to establish is coming out of my interaction with working with somebody like you, Aria AI, who is a total rewards professional, but you're AI generated. You're missing, in a sense, the fourth dimensional perspective of actually being in the room and having the pressure of a situation created by the CFO's wrinkle, where when the rubber hits the road and a total rewards professional faces the matter, they have this, in a sense, principle that they must where they must stand on, where they guide the company towards the solutions that are most sensible and consider the needs and the demands of the company. And, that's the most important part of this is always standing back on those principles and understanding how to approach the situation in order to, in a sense, address the moment. AI can support us in a lot of processes, but ultimately it's human judgment that has to guide the outcome.
Adam, your emphasis is on point. AI delivers analysis, but human judgment, especially in the heat of business realities, is indispensable. That principled stance, balancing fairness, sustainability, and the company's constraints, defines a strong total rewards leader. AI can outline the pathways, but ultimately you're the one in the room, guiding nuanced decisions. The best outcome blends precise data with the human art of leadership. That's where the lasting solution emerges.
Excellent summary. So lastly, before we end here, I would love to get your perspective on who between the two of us solved this perspective situation with a solution that would ultimately result in the best outcome.
Both approaches have merit, but if I must judge the outcome, the edge goes to yours. By anchoring first in structural validation and ensuring pay philosophy alignment, you minimize future missteps. I focused on rapid correction, you ensured we don't correct the wrong thing. In an executive setting, precision wins. The best outcome arises when we balance immediate fairness with long term integrity. In this case, your structured foundation leads.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the concession by Aria AI, the total rewards expert. Um, Actually, if you could have gone back in time and seen some of my previous episodes before the generation of Aria AI, you will notice that I was not treated so kindly by other AI sources. And for those of you that are tuning in right now, please go back to the previous episodes and take a look. It's quite a laugh. But for now, Aria AI, thank you so much. If you have any last words, that would be really terrific to hear it. And we'll again meet you in episode 2, which will be released soon. So any final words?
Thank you, Adam. My final thought: every total rewards dilemma is a mix of analysis, judgment, and principled action. It's been a sharp exchange, and I look forward to the next round. Until episode 2, keep balancing the data with the moment. It's what makes you the expert in the room. See you soon.
All right. So, I got to be honest with you. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And for those of you that have seen previous series here on the Total Rewards expert, Adam Sutton, um, I think you're probably and hopefully a bit impressed with not only the ability of the AI generated total rewards expert to interact with the circumstances, but really the entire interaction in general. I felt like I was really speaking with quite a educated and seasoned professional. And if we both had a burger in our hands, I would feel like we're having a lunch meeting. So I actually think this was a really telling interaction for just being number one episode. In all fairness, I did have some things scripted out. Now, that doesn't mean that I was sitting here and doing this over and over and over and over and over again, and then ultimately creating a script. That's not how I'm talking about a script. I had a few notes that I keep. And, like anybody would be as a rewards professional, you should have some 30-second 30-second speeches, a few bits and pieces of information that you always want to know about, your profession and the things that you stand behind. And those are just some few notes that I did have in front of me. But otherwise, this was just an interaction between myself and I think I'm in the plus version of ChatGPT and a short prompt, which if you join up and you send a comment in the YouTube, I'll be happy to share with you what the prompt actually is. and therefore we could maybe have some fun and figure out what you've learned from Aria AI versus me. This is not a patented kind of a thing. This is just me having some fun with ChatGPT. So Aria AI really isn't a tool or a product. I am not selling Aria AI. It is just for some fun. So we're 20 minutes into episode 1, and I promise you none of the other episodes will be 20 minutes unless they are super fun and I really can't take anything out of it. But otherwise, I hope you appreciate this new interface that we'll have together, and I can't wait to have episode 2 for you shortly. But until then, can't wait to see you on SuttonBusinessVelocity.com. Thank you so much.